The year 1989. Nintendo released the Game Boy to much fanfare. The Berlin Wall had fallen and the Germans were finally reunited. George H.W. Bush was inaugurated as President of the United States. And in China, images of violence and protest came from Tiananmen Square. This is the story of the Hamilton City Centre. It never had a chance. But back in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, residents were saying goodbye to the original Eaton's building from the 1920s. Eaton's, along with Cadillac Fairview, wanted to continue the trend of attempting to revitalize downtowns by building a new mall on the old Eaton site, a trend we've already seen in Kitchener and London, Ontario. The new mall would replace a unique old department store, one that had antique elevators, a massive food cafeteria, and multiple levels for shopping. But times were changing. A smaller version of an Eaton store would be built, and a new 3-story, 120-store mall with major tenants like HMV and Eddie Bauer were looking to bring people back downtown. But why? Right next door was Jackson Square, with many stores in it. Despite that, in October of 1990, the Hamilton Eaton Centre opened to the public. The timing of the mall's opening, however, was very unfortunate. There was a major economic recession, there was no free parking, and a mall next door with another mall less than 5 miles away were already taking its toll on the Hamilton Eaton Centre. By 1995, Cadillac Fairview saw its downtown malls as a bad investment and offloaded many of them, including the Hamilton City Centre. Eaton's would take over sole ownership of the mall. However, bad things were already here. The 3rd floor had already closed, and over 50% of the tenants had left. In 1997, Eaton's Corporation declared bankruptcy protection and closed many of its locations. In order to get the Eatons to stay at the Hamilton Eaton Centre, the City of Hamilton leased the 3rd floor for offices and offered free parking for the mall. 2 years later, however, the Eaton's Corporation fully went under. The mall was sold and was rebranded to the Hamilton City Centre, and the days of the mall were becoming numbered.
The top floors of the old Eaton's building were blasted into history this morning. Wrecking crews continually sprayed water on the old store to keep the dust and heat down. The demolition is to make way for the new Eaton Centre, which is expected to be completed by late next year. Eaton's moved out of the old store in April.
The major problem facing the Hamilton City Centre, though, was overmalling. Jackson Square, as noted earlier, is literally right next door. It opened 18 years earlier than the Hamilton City Centre in 1972 as part of a long-term plan to bring retail, hotels, office space, a convention center, and a hockey arena to the downtown. Despite a small hiccup when the Hamilton Eaton Centre opened in 1990, which temporarily took some of the stores with it, Jackson Square has been relatively successful and is now celebrating its 50th anniversary. This video was taken on the same day I went to the Hamilton City Centre on December 3rd, 2022. The biggest competition to the Hamilton City Centre, though, was another Cadillac Fairview property called CF Lime Ridge. Lime Ridge opened in 1981 and was just 5 miles away. This mall had several anchors, hundreds of stores, and ample free parking. It was a suburban mall that is still considered Hamilton's most popular mall and is currently celebrating over 40 years in business.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Eaton's Trans-Canada sale is the one sale with more savings and more selection for more people than any other sale all season. With so many outstanding buys, it's no wonder everyone waits for Eaton's Trans-Canada sale.
This is the Hamilton City Centre, just 23 days before closing. The past 22 years have been like a prison sentence for them all. Hard time with no chance of parole. In the early 2000s, the big chains left, including Fairweather, HMV, and Eddie Bauer. The Eaton store was renovated by adding windows to make office space and a fitness club. But with Jackson Square doing renovations in the early 2000s, the Hamilton City Centre saw a decline because everything was right next door. Today, the mall is almost a joke. With a new owner taking over in 2019, businesses knew that the mall would eventually be torn down to make room for a multi-complex condo community. Many stores left at that point. And the remaining stores were told in September of 2022 that the last day of the mall would be December 26th, and they would have to vacate the building by January 6th of 2023. The remaining stores were all independently owned, except for the Hart department store, which was like a really bad TJ Maxx, and the IDA Pharmacy, both of which are moving locations. A Cash Money cash advance store on the outside of the mall is also relocating. When I went, maybe 50 people were in the mall, with 40 of those being in the Hart department store. Security was very present too. I counted 5 security guards in total, so I apologize for the lack of video. The aesthetics of the mall had a very similar feel to Westmount and City Plaza in London, Ontario, and it mimics the granddaddy of them all, the Toronto Eaton Centre, in style. However, it was clear by looking at the ceilings and talking to a tenant in the mall that the mall was in disrepair. Classic signs like no working elevator, no cleaning staff, and fake plants made this visit even more nostalgic. But in the meantime, enjoy the views of the mall while you still can. It is now closing time for the Hamilton City Center. Everyone has left for the final time. No one will come and see Santa Claus anymore. The smart buys have all faded away, and the heart of the mall has died. We can no longer enter. And the mall has said thanks for visiting one last time. But now we must say goodbye to the old mall, one that had so much hope for Hamilton. As the building now fades away, we must remember that hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things, and no good thing ever dies. Sleep tight, Hamilton City Center. Sleep tight.